Hi, I'm Don Dawson. In this program, we're going to look at a cool way to prevent hot work from becoming a hot mess. When industrial fires occur, there's a 1 in 5 chance that they were started accidentally by hot work that was being performed on the site. And hot work can create major problems on construction sites as well.
Hot work includes any operations that involve flame or high heat, or that can act as an ignition source. Hot work causes an average of more than 12,000 accidental fires per year, resulting in more than $300 million in property damage and more than 30 fatalities. But these fires are preventable. In this program, we will discuss the hazards of hot work and how a hot work permitting system can help to control or even eliminate them. We will also look at how you can make sure that the hot work you do is performed safely.
Hot work is any task that produces high heat, sparks, or slag that could ignite flammable materials in the area.
Hot work can include welding, cutting, brazing, and soldering, heating objects with propane torches or heat guns, and some types of chipping, grinding, drilling, and sawing operations. The sparks and heated particles that hot work produces can reach temperatures above 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit and can be thrown more than 30 feet from their source. This high heat can easily ignite paper, cardboard, or wood, flammable liquids and vapors, materials that are used in walls or flooring, and accumulated oil or grease on machinery. The equipment that is used to perform hot work can create hazards as well. Oxy-fuel welding rigs can leak flammable gases. Arc welding machines and some power tools may produce sparks. Many companies attempt to control these fire hazards by creating special locations where hot work can be performed safely, isolated from the rest of the facility. These designated areas are always kept in a fire-safe condition. But hot work can't always be picked up and moved to these areas. Some of this work must be performed where the need is. Any fire hazards in these non-designated areas must be controlled or eliminated before hot work begins. To facilitate this, OSHA requires employers to implement a hot work permitting system for these locations. That's why they're known as permit-required spaces.
The OSHA standards that require employers to implement hot work permitting systems are based on guidelines that were created by the National Fire Protection Association.
The written hot work permit and the procedures that go with it have been developed to help companies manage any hot work that is performed on their sites, reduce the fire hazards associated with that work, and prevent the damage, injuries, and fatalities that fires and explosions can cause. Under this system, no hot work may be performed outside of a designated fire-safe area until a permit has been completed, approved, and signed by a hot work safety manager. This applies to any work that will be performed by contractors as well. Each hot work permit describes a specific job that will be performed at a specific time, and a separate permit is required for each location where hot work will be done. The most important section on the permit is a checklist of hazards that may exist in the hot work area and the safety precautions that must be taken to control or eliminate these hazards. The employees who perform the hot work, including the operator and fire watchers, can use the checklist as a step-by-step guide for getting the job done safely. This permitting process reduces the risks that are associated with hot work by requiring workers to focus on the hazards that are involved in the work they'll be doing and the precautions they should take to avoid these hazards. The permit also ensures accountability by requiring the names of the hot work operator and the fire watch personnel, in addition to the signature of the hot work fire safety manager. This leaves no doubt about the responsibility each one has for maintaining a fire-safe environment.
The person we have been calling the hot work safety manager is the individual who is designated by an employer to authorize and oversee any hot work that will be done on the site.
This person is also in charge of the hot work permitting process and is known as the Permit Authorizing Individual, or PAI. We'll be referring to them by that name for the rest of the program. The PAI begins the permitting process by inspecting the location where the proposed hot work will be performed. The checklist on the hot work permit guides them in identifying any potential fire hazards that exist in or around the space and determining what precautions should be taken to control or eliminate them. By entering this information on the checklist, the PAI specifies what conditions must exist in the location before the hot work itself can begin. You'll be working from just such a checklist when you perform hot work, so you should understand the types of precautions that you may need to implement. For instance, any fire suppression equipment in the space, such as sprinklers and fire hoses, must be working properly. Flammable materials must be moved at least 35 feet away from where the work will be done. Floors should be swept clean of combustibles for a 35-foot radius as well. Combustibles that cannot be removed must be protected by welding curtains, screens, or fire-resistant blankets. Openings in walls or floors within 35 feet of the work should be covered to prevent sparks and other hot particles from flying or falling through them. Combustible walls, floors, and ceilings within 35 feet of the work must be wetted down, covered with fire-resistant blankets, or otherwise protected. The materials and equipment that the hot work will be performed on must be cleaned of oil and grease, emptied of flammable liquids, and purged of gases or vapors that could catch fire or explode. All the equipment that will be used in the hot work, such as welding machines or power tools, must be checked to ensure that they are undamaged and in good operating condition.
It's critically important to make the work site fire safe before beginning hot work. The hot work permitting process helps you do this systematically and effectively.
As we've discussed, the permit itself serves as a blueprint for fire safety preparations. It enables you to address each hazard that has been identified in the work location and control or eliminate it step by step. When you complete these preparations, the PAI will inspect the worksite again. If they are satisfied that all of the required fire prevention measures have been taken and that the work area is fire safe, the PAI will sign off on the permit so that the hot work itself can proceed. While they are performing the work, it's the responsibility of the operator and the fire watchers to ensure that safe conditions are maintained. The work is completed in compliance with what is specified on the permit, and that once their job is completed, they leave the site in a safe condition. Remember, the permit is only valid for one job being performed in one location under specific conditions. If conditions change or new hazards arise, the hot work should be stopped. In some cases, the permit may be canceled as well. Some fires can be slow to start, so the fire watch should be maintained for at least a half an hour after the hot work itself has been completed. Then the PAI will again inspect the site, this time examining the work that has been done as well. When they are satisfied that the job has been done properly and that no further fire danger exists, the PAI will sign the permit again, officially bringing the hot work project and the permitting process to a close. Completed hot work permits are often kept by employers for a year or more to document fire safety compliance and for reference in developing improved hot work safety practices within the company.
It's hazardous to perform any work in a confined space because the space itself is hazardous. But doing hot work inside a confined space creates a number of additional hazards.
Confined spaces are limited access structures, such as tanks, storage bins, vaults, manholes, and tunnels. They're not meant for continuous occupation by people, and they're difficult to get into and out of. They can contain dangerous machinery, toxic atmospheres, explosive gases, high-voltage electricity, and other hazards. They are so hazardous that confined spaces are involved in as many as 2 worker fatalities in the U.S. every week. To reduce these hazards, OSHA requires employers to implement their own permit system for any work that needs to be performed in a confined space. When hot work has to be performed in a confined space, it can bring hazards such as high heat, electricity, flammable gases, and the risk of igniting a fire or explosion with it. A hot work permit provides an important additional level of safety within the confined space permitting process by ensuring that these hazards are controlled or eliminated. To do hot work safely in confined spaces, you'll need to understand the hazards that can be encountered there, as well as the OSHA safety standards that address them. To find out more, talk to your supervisor.
As we've seen, hot work can create a number of safety issues in both industrial and construction environments. But a hot work permitting system can help to control these hazards and reduce the risk of accidents and injuries. Let's review.
To control fire hazards when hot work must be performed outside of designated fire-safe areas, OSHA requires employers to use a hot work permitting system. A hot work permit is a written document that organizes the process of making a work area fire-safe before hot work begins. The permit guides the permit authorizing individual, PAI, in identifying fire hazards and determining what safety precautions should be taken. A hot work permit also guides the hot work operator and fire watchers in making the work area fire safe and completing the hot work without accident or injury. No hot work may be started or finished until the PAI has approved and signed the hot work permit.
Hot work does have its hazards, but now that you understand the hot work permitting process and know how to use it, you can help make sure that your hot work gets done safely each and every day.